10. Ushalom. Now, this is part 4 of our current study of the Oneness of Yah. And there will be a part 5 of our study, although I initially thought that we could conclude in 4 parts. We will instead have a part 5, just so as to keep the segments from being too long. Also, if you missed the first 3 segments of the study, I strongly encourage you to watch parts 1 through 3 before watching this segment, because this is a continuation of the previous segments. Now, let's resume. So again, we discussed how there is a connection between each of the scriptural matters listed on this slide. And in each case there was a need, and the need was fulfilled by means of the bringing forth of another manifestation from the same substance of that which already existed, rather than adding from another source. In other words, one of the examples that was discussed in part 3 was a man who is a husband and a father. The husband and the father are not separate from the man, but rather the husband and the father are an extension of the man, another manifestation of the same man. The man, the husband, and the father are not a trinity of 3 different people, but rather it's one person, drawing from within himself so as to function in 3 different ways and meet a need. Another example is water, functioning as a liquid, as a solid in the form of ice, and as a gas in the form of steam, which, by the way, is invisible and can only be seen when it becomes a mist, because it is then starting to condense and change back to liquid. And of course, whether ice or steam, it's still water, and it ultimately returns back to liquid, even after serving a purpose as ice or steam. Now, we see this pattern of drawing from one source and manifesting in a different way so as to meet a need throughout the pages of Scripture. And throughout Scripture, we see this demonstration of the word one, or echad, the same word which is used to describe the Most High. So, with that in mind, let's look more closely at the list of Scripture references before us as we continue to deepen our understanding of what Yahuwah has clearly said to us about himself. And that is that he is one. He never says of himself that he is a trinity of 3 different persons who are united in agreement of purpose. No. Instead, he says that he is one. So, let us understand what he is clearly saying to us so that we may not be moved by the religious traditions of man as expressed by the false doctrine of the Trinity. Now, starting with the loaves and fishes. There were 2 recorded incidents of the feeding of a multitude with what appeared to naturalize to be not enough. In one case, it was the feeding of 5,000, and in another, it was the feeding of 4,000. Now, the amount of food that the disciples, or Talmudim, presented to Messiah was 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. And with natural hearts of understanding, the only remedy was to go buy some more food, and therefore add from another source to what they already had so as to meet the need. But Messiah showed them his power to multiply what they already had, and in doing so, they had more than enough. Because in the case of the 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish, Messiah did not say, well, put that to the side, because that's not enough. Watch me create some more. No, he demonstrated his great power to draw out of that same supply as if to multiply the source and make it more than meet their need. I believe that he was showing us something about the way that he does things. Now, although the word echad is not used in this event, I believe that what we are given here is an illustration of this kingdom principle. The event of the feeding of more than 5,000 is recorded in all 4 accounts of the proclamation of the good news of the kingdom, because there is more for us to understand here than just the fact that Messiah administered great power. John 21, verse 25 said that if all of the works of great power that Messiah did were to be recorded, the world could not contain the books needed to make those records. So there was no shortage of acts of great power to be shared with us, which means that there was a reason that the emissaries or apostles were inspired to each tell of the same event. And that is because it was a matter of sharing a kingdom principle with us. Messiah came proclaiming the kingdom, explaining the kingdom, and rather than just coincidentally retelling the same event, since there were so many that could be told, this event was purposely told in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John because the Most High was sharing something about himself and about his kingdom. Now, in the case of the oil of the menorah, due to an attack of the Roman armies, the menorah in the temple was left with only enough oil to last for 1 day. The process to make enough oil to add to what they already had would take several days. Surely the light that was never supposed to go out would in this case do exactly that. However, it was a sovereign act of the Most High which multiplied 1 day's measure of oil and made it last 7 days, and therefore providing continuous light while more oil was processed according to the instructions of the Most High. Now, there's much prophetic significance here. But again, we have an example of the drawing out from the supply of 1 measure so as to meet the need at hand. The days of creation. Genesis 1:5, Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, day 1. Now, we've spent quite a bit of time talking about the composition of 1, as expressed by the word echad. But we must not forget that the word echad is the word for the number 1. Genesis 1:5 speaks of Yom Echad, which is often translated as the first day. However, the word Echad is a cardinal number. In other words, a number which tells how many. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. In Hebrew, if the Most High had wanted to indicate this as the first day, there's another word which is used to indicate the word first. First is an ordinal number, and in Abri or Hebrew, it would be the word Rishon. Ordinal numbers like first, second, third, etc. tells the position of something on a list. In Genesis 1 verse 5, it is day 1, Echad, the number 1. And then the author speaks of the second, third, fourth, etc. So what does this mean? Well, when we consider that everything in the second through the seventh day are in day 1, we see another example of the drawing out from 1 and presenting another manifestation of the same substance, so as to serve in a different way. When the Most High used the phrase Yom Echad, or day 1, instead of the first day, he was saying to us, pay attention. I am not just listing 7 consecutive days, each one being exclusive to itself, in which case he would have used the word Rishon, first. But rather, he is showing us that everything is contained in day 1. We should look back and look at those verses. Everything is drawn out of day 1. Echad, day 1, Yom Echad. And he then reveals the lights in the firmament, the fish in the sea. In other words, in day 1 we have everything. That was to be progressively revealed, because it already existed in that it was created and was then brought forth or unpacked so as to be seen in finished form. Genesis 1:1, Elohim created everything. The word bara is created. In Genesis 2 verse 3, he explains that he created bara so as to asa, so as to make. And so it is that the substance for the second through the 6th day of creation is all found in day 1, with the 7th day signaling completion or wholeness of the essential need to move forward with the master plan of Yah for his creation. Again, everything in the 2nd through the 6th day were in day 1. The 2nd through the 6th day are a matter of multiplication rather than addition. Yahuwah did not introduce or add anything to the mix in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th day, which were not already in day 1. Please read those verses on your own and study that and see that. He brought out of day 1 the things we see in the 2nd through the 6th day, and then he rested on the 7th day, not because he was tired, but rather he sat down in his sovereign authority over his creation as his master plan was in motion. Adam and his wife. When Elohim decided to make woman, he did not scoop up another hand of dirt and blow into it. No, he brought forth from Adam the woman who already existed in mankind. So how do we know this? Well, the name Adam is not only a personal name for the first male created, but at the beginning, the name Adam was also the name of all of mankind, male and female, as mankind existed in the beginning as one, Echad. Genesis 1:27. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he them. End of quote. The word man is Strong's number H120, and when making reference to Strong's dictionary, it means ruddy. Now, ruddy in the context of Scripture makes reference to a copper-colored brown, as in the brown soil from which Adam was made. And of course, even mainstream science has come to the conclusion that every nation of people came from one man and one woman, and that they were what the world calls black. And so we see that the full spectrum of peoples, nations, and tongues comes from one. Now, when looking up this word Adam, H120, we see that it also means mankind, inclusive of male and female. And after woman was taken out of man, we see that the name Adam remained as a personal name for the first male in creation. Genesis 2, verses 21 to 22. Elohim reached inside of Adam and brought forth woman. Adam, the man, then said of the woman, his wife, his counterpart, she is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, because she was taken out of Adam. And Genesis goes on to say, the two shall become one flesh, Echad. And so it is that the full spectrum of mankind was given expression from Echad, one. Adam, not only male, but Adam as mankind, inclusive of male and female. Again, we see the drawing out from one so as to meet the need of the whole. Please continue with us to part 5, which will be the conclusion of our current study, where we will continue with noting the scriptural illustrations of Echad, or oneness. Seeing these patterns helps us to understand the oneness of Yahuwah. In part 5, we will cover Messiah and his bride, Yahuwah and his word, and Father, Son, and Ruach HaKodesh.